KREM 2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest this past week.
This all began on Tuesday night when Spokane County deputies shot and killed a suspect after a standoff. Then Wednesday night, Spokane police shot and killed a man on the South Hill. As a result of both shootings, 9 police officers and 4 deputies are now on paid administrative leave, part of standard protocol for situations like this.
We will make staffing arrangements to ensure that there is coverage for patrol in the time that they'll be on administrative leave.
Also part of protocol, both the Spokane Police and the Spokane County Sheriff's Office are not investigating the incidents in which they're involved. So to get an idea of how incidents like these can impact a department, KREM 2 spoke with Cheney Police Chief Rick Bechtold. According to him, law enforcement agencies are struggling with staffing. He says at the Cheney Police Department, they work 12-hour shifts, and with 25 personnel, even just one officer going on leave would impact the rest of the department.
It takes a toll on their family, it takes a toll on the department. The overtime budgets are spiraling out of control.
Spokane Police spokesperson Julie Humphreys admits having 9 officers on leave will have an impact on their staffing levels, but says they'll be able to handle the shortage. However, Chief Bechtold says there's another impact law enforcement deal with when involved in a deadly shooting: the mental toll. He remembers how back in 2018, 3 Cheney police officers were put on leave for their part in a deadly shooting. Of the 3, only 1 still works at the department.
This isn't at all like television. The emotional toll that being involved in something like this is real.
The student arrested earlier today for stabbing a student has been charged with first-degree assault. It all occurred earlier this morning inside a bathroom at the school. When Jasmine Rose Perkins arrived to school this morning, she expected a normal day.
When I was walking in, there was a girl in handcuffs in front of the school.
She was surprised to hear one of her fellow classmates was stabbed.
Shocked, really shocked, because it's just like you go to school and then you get stabbed. Like, it's kind of bizarre.
Spokane Public Schools says there was a fight in a bathroom inside the school between 4 female students after the first class of the day. One student was stabbed as a result of the fight.
Nurses were on staff, they provided first aid, and 2 campus safety specialists were also on campus at the time of the incident.
The student stabbed was rushed to the hospital. The district says the student had non-life-threatening injuries and is currently in stable condition. Another student was injured but not by a weapon and was not transported to the hospital.
Well, after every time we have an incident like this, we always kind of come back, debrief, and see how we can do better. I think we've done better as time has gone on.
SPS says 1 person was detained following the fight. The district says parents should know safety is their #1 priority.
Our message is that we've increased our campus safety specialists across the district. That's #1. #2 is that we are building a culture of safety in all of our schools. So safety is everybody's responsibility.
The school district says after the fight, the school was put into a modified lockdown. No one was allowed inside the building, but school went on as normal.
But it's just like something that you don't expect to happen when you come to school.
Jasmine still feels safe at school, but confused by today's events.
Pretty angsty, I'd say, from me and my peers. Just like, murmurs and overall just confusion on why it happened.
The modified lockdown was lifted later in the morning. I talked with the school district earlier this afternoon. They tell me they couldn't provide me any additional information about the stabbing, but they do tell me that additional counselors will be made available for students and staff next week. In Spokane, Nathan Hyun, KREM 2 News.
Well, Spokane's airport started looking for and putting out requests for bids for a new food and retail operator back in July. That's also when food and retail workers here at the airport started asking for job protections. And now, several months later, many of those workers still feel uncertain as the airport gets closer to finalizing a new concessions contract. A lot is still up in the air for Spokane's airport and more than 100 workers. The board is still reviewing bids for a new concessions operator.
There is no way to be certain of anything.
But Cordeely Jones knows one thing. It's there in black and white.
It is expected that you and the other associates affected by this change will be separated from the company.
Dealey Jones is one of 119 food and retail workers now on notice. Once the current concessions contract through HMS Host ends March 31st, they'll be permanently laid off.
That's over 100 good jobs. It would be really devastating to lose that, and I think really not good for the community either.
Union President Anita Sate says they tried and failed to convince the airport to require job retention as part of the bid process. Now they're waiting to see which company takes over. That decision, says airport spokesperson Todd Woodard, is expected in February.
But what we are trying to do is get the company that's coming in to agree to hire them all.
We are trained. We already have our security clearance. We already know the flow out at the airport because that's a very specific kind of hospitality environment.
Dealey Jones's 10 years bartending here don't even rank him among the longest serving airport hospitality workers. But it did allow him to fight for strong health benefits and provide for his wife's chronic health condition.
We're dependent on my income, on insurance through my job. And like I said, it's been a good job. We bought a house here in Spokane a few years ago. We finally felt stable enough to start a family.
As a new father, he's unsure a bartending gig anywhere else would be enough. So no matter who takes over.
In a lot of situations, we are the first and the last people visitors to Spokane talk to before they either go into the city or go home.
He hopes his job, benefits, and beloved customers will still be there.
And I just really hope that we can all keep doing it.
Again, the airport board is expected to select a new operator and finalize that new concessions contract next month. But as it stands now, those 119 workers are expected to be permanently laid off starting April 13th. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
This statue outside the Spokane Club celebrates Spokane veteran John Monahan. However, some community members say it also perpetuates racism. The plaque below the statue refers to Samoan people as savage foes.
It's 2024. We don't call people savages anymore. That's just not a thing we do. And so to have a piece of city property with the label calling a group of people savages is probably something we should all collectively say is bad.
According to the Spokane Historical Society, Monahan was in the first graduating class at Gonzaga University and the first person in Washington State to attend the Naval Academy. Monahan served as an officer aboard the USS Philadelphia, which destroyed native villages in Samoa as the U.S. battled the British to gain control. Monahan was killed by natives in one of those battles. His statue was dedicated in 1906, and it stood here ever since.
If there's such a problem with the word savage, maybe put a sign there and explain, because we can't change history.
City council members heard testimony tonight from those who want the statue to stay and others who want it torn down.
It is so painful hearing how harmful this statue is to Samoans because it uplifts somebody who killed their ancestors. The statue sends a message that Samoans and Pacific Islanders are unwelcome here in Spokane.
The Spokane Human Rights Commission passed a resolution 2 years ago in support of removing the statue, but the city had no clear process to act or respond to their recommendation. Tonight, council members passed an ordinance to consider and act upon community members' concerns regarding institutional statements, names, or monuments on property owned by the city.
This is a small step in righting a wrong. I really look forward to us passing this.
The ordinance passed 5-2. Councilman Michael Cathcart and Jonathan Bingle voted against it. Bingle believes both sides of this debate could meet in the middle.
There are two open sides to the Monahan statue where we could add a modern context. So first off, we can address what has been said for over 100 years on that statue. Obviously, calling an entire group of people savages is completely unacceptable.
To be clear, council members did not vote to remove the statue. The ordinance passed simply creates a process to consider and act upon community members' concerns concerning city-owned property. In Spokane, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
It's a bustling afternoon on the South Hill's 29th Avenue, but those wishing for change here may not have long to wait. 29th Avenue is a pretty busy route here in Lincoln Heights, but some argue it's not safe enough for all users.
There's a lot of traffic through the area. There's a lot of congestion. There's not a lot of crosswalks or accessible sidewalks.
Monday night, Spokane City Council will vote on a proposal pushed by Paul Dillon to designate a portion of 29th as a pedestrian street.
So this is something that the neighbors have actually been asking for since the 1990s.
That will create more walkability with sidewalk, curb, and crosswalk changes. The idea has generated a lot of talk because it's the same area where Chick-fil-A wants to build its next location. That application's already been denied once.
So as much as, we'd all like to walk more, drive-up windows are a convenience that benefit both the local business and the consumer.
The designation would ban new drive-thrus, though Dillon says it's not targeting any one business. For him, it's about reducing congestion and increasing safety. Some property owners don't agree.
The amount of traffic designed for 29th Avenue is to increase, not to decrease. So all the testimony you've heard about people who aren't able to walk on 29th, nothing that you do for drive-thrus or prohibiting drive-thrus is going to do any calming.
If approved, changes won't be swift, but Dillon hopes they will be noticeable in the long-term future of Lincoln Heights.
And so when you look at some of these empty lots and spaces, those could be better utilized for mixed use, where you have businesses on the first floor and residential on top.
Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
I heard that the natural gas was banned or outlawed in Washington State, and it was an email from my mom yesterday. I thought, that's crazy talk. That can't be. That's ludicrous.
Like many people in the inland Northwest, Mia Markham McCoy relies on natural gas to heat her home.
And then I thought, well, outlawed, does that mean they would just turn the switch off and we'd be out? And it's like, no, they would help us to transition to something else before they just turned it off, right?
Looking for answers, Mia reached out to our Verify team.
Is it true that natural gas is banned in Washington State?
Let's verify. Our sources are House Bill 1589 and Avista. The bill in Olympia would ban natural gas, but only for new customers and in specific areas. It reads in part, no large gas company that serves more than 500,000 retail natural gas customers in the state of Washington may furnish or supply gas service to any commercial or residential location that did not receive gas service or did not file applications for gas service as of June 30th, 2023. There is currently only one utility in the state that serves 500,000 customers, and that is Puget Sound Energy, based in western Washington. Avista, which is the largest utility in eastern Washington, confirmed this part of the bill would not impact their customers directly. The company's vice president of energy delivery said in a statement, Avista's interest in the bill is driven by our belief that it is essential to balance stewardship of the environment with affordability and reliability of energy delivery for customers. This legislation is primarily focused on Puget Sound Energy. It may set a course for Puget Sound Energy to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in a way that works for that company as an electric and natural gas utility. However, if it were used as a template business model, it would be inappropriate if applied to Avista in the future. So far, the bill has passed the House and is currently working its way through the Senate. A similar bill failed to pass last year. So we can verify no, natural gas is not banned in Washington. However, a bill does seek to block future customers in some parts of western Washington. For Mia, the answer provides some relief for now.
I like to collect facts.
But also brings some new questions.
How would it eventually affect us over here? What can we do do we need to start the transition?
Well, let me tell you what we're not going to do. We're not going to let the black lens die. So.
And I hadn't told the family, I hadn't told anyone, but this is what I was going to do. I wasn't going to let it die. That didn't mean I was going to run it. It meant that I was going to do all the blocking and tackling so that ever whoever wouldn't have to worry about some things.
Almost exactly 1 year ago, I sat down with Rob Curley, the editor of the Spokesman Review, to talk about the future of the Black Lens, the Black newspaper here in Spokane that was started by the late Sandy Williams. Now, on the first day of Black History Month, the paper is back serving the community. And so joining me this morning is the new editor of the Black Lens, Natasha Hill, and Sandy's daughter, Renika. And I'm so excited to have you both and be able to speak with you both because the first issue comes out today.
It does.
That is so exciting. So let's talk about how much work went into bringing this newspaper back.
A ton. You know, this is one of those things that's really been community driven, and if it wasn't for the blessing of the Williams family, we wouldn't be here. Also the support partnerships that we have right now with the Spokesman Review, being able to get funding to put together this relaunch. So we're really excited.
So I actually got a chance, speaking of the Williams family, I got a chance to speak with your grandmother and your uncle last year, and they got to talk about what it was like for them seeing Sandy start this paper and take on this huge challenge that has just really infiltrated the entire community. So what was it like for you being able to see your mom push that mission forward?
I mean, it was really exciting because when she started the paper, she was just working in her office and she was printing the papers and like shoving them in her trunk to deliver them to different churches and parts of the community, and just watching her her drive and really seeing that the community really needed this paper and fulfilling that was just something amazing. And just working with Natasha on the relaunch, realizing how much work actually went into that, which is a ton, and I'm just excited that we're able to bring it back and just keep her legacy going.
So what can we look forward to with this new edition of the Black Lens?
I mean, in this new edition, the first edition, it being Black History Month, we really wanted to focus on the theme, which is African American in the arts and Black joy. Part of the mission here was for the Black Lens to be a place where the Black community could find out what's happening in community and also get news and stories from a Black perspective. And that's exactly what it does. We've included a Black business directory. We have a list of all the churches and ministries. And we just got some great stories where we're making and celebrating Black history this month with our new City Council President, Betsy Wilkerson, new NAACP President, Lisa Gardner. And we've got this Black Voices Symposium that's actually happening tonight, celebrating art and pieces that have come to us through youth in our community. That's happening tonight at Gonzaga at the Myrtle Woldson Theater.
I was just about to ask, and it starts at 7 o'clock, right?
It does.
Okay. I'm staying up late for it, so that's why I had to double check the time. And so now, are there any other events that we can look forward to this year, or especially during Black History Month, that maybe the Black Lens is a part of?
Yeah, we actually are having this is our relaunch week, really. And so we've got a series of events. Tomorrow night, Friday, we are at the Steam Plant celebrating. We have an event 6 to 8. We've got Senator Cantwell joining us. Yep. We've got Mayor Brown, City Council President Wilkerson, NAACP President Lisa Gardner. And we've also got the Williams family joining us. Nikki's a big part of this in terms of keeping this going, but also some of her contributions and her expertise with web design, graphic design, and making sure that this goes beyond just the print, because we've got a website and we've got new socials.
Yes. You've got a lot going.
Yeah, you can find us.
And so now, real quickly, because they're telling me to wrap, so I understand, but I just want to ask you briefly, how would you like to see your mother's legacy continued here, especially in the Spokane area?
I think what's really important is behind the Black Lens is just an appreciation and finding the beauty and the strength and the differences in our community. And the fact that once we all learn to appreciate all of our different stories, that we can work better together. And I think that's ultimately what she would have wanted.
I love that. Well, thank you both for waking up early with us and joining us here on the show. You can watch actually Sandy's story, that full Sandy Williams special, on our KREM 2 website at krem.com or on our KREM 2 YouTube page.
A new mayor, new city council, and a new roadmap for where citizens want to see their city go. That was laid out Thursday.
Opportunities for our city to grow from the ground up.
Lisa Brown's transition committees broke down weeks of work into top priorities for her first 100 days. Public Safety Committee co-chair Maggie Yates said their group had major concerns with what she called a lack of budget and lack of planning around public safety with Measure 1, which failed in November. The group recommends the city collaborate with the county to move away from just strictly focusing on jail facilities if another public safety measure is proposed.
Conditions such as investments also in behavioral health, in housing,
and sustainability, and importantly, racial equity.
A transition committee focused on the city's finances and climate goals also tasked Brown's administration with balancing the budget. They recommend extending a budget freeze and review to identify ways the city can cut expenses and seek out revenue sources. Co-chair Gavin Cooley says it's about creating a long-term budget and eliminating structural deficits.
Throw a lot of effort at solving this year's gap, whatever it is, and then it comes back the next year, and that's the nature of a structural gap.
Another group looked at supporting families and children.
The overarching goal is really to increase the vibrancy of Spokane and create a more navigable regulatory environment to make it easier to open up those spaces for the community.
They recommend the city remove obstacles that keep cultural and neighborhood events from thriving and building greater partnerships between city and families. A committee also looked at housing and homelessness, saying an audit is needed for Spokane's shelters and homeless resources.
Needing a clear count of what truly is our current shelter capacity.
They recommend creation of a homeless management dashboard. These recommendations will now go to Brown's cabinet. City Council may also take a look at implementing some of the changes. Brown does warn that not everything will be implemented in the short term, but it does give her administration a better understanding of what citizens want to see for their city in the future. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
What made you want to step up and apply for this position?
The representation of being an immigrant on city council.
More than 30 years after arriving in Spokane as an immigrant from Mexico, Lily Navarrete's name is now etched in history as the first Hispanic American woman to hold a position on city council. In a 4-2 vote last week, council named her the newest member, filling the vacancy left by Betsy Wilkerson, who now serves as council president. In a divisive political environment, Navarrete says she wants to be a unifier.
There's got to be a solution to work together. And I have always learned to compromise. And again, just my background of learning to compromise with people that don't agree with me because they don't like where I come from, how I speak, what I look like. I have to compromise and we have to meet in the middle at some point.
She'll represent District 2 Position 2, or South Spokane. Her priorities include making a permanent homeless navigation center, improving the community relationship with police, and working to revitalize East Central Spokane. Navarrete believes she brings the skill and experience needed to succeed.
This is just, it's a continuation. It's just another step for me to continue.
Aside from council, Navarrete works as a community development officer with the State Commission of Hispanic Affairs. She previously worked for Planned Parenthood for Greater Washington and North Idaho. She says she wants to be a voice for people without one.
But now that I'm here in this position, I will make sure that everyone knows that everyone belongs.
During his trip to Spokane today, Governor Jay Inslee held a new device developed by Department of Ecology scientists to monitor air quality.
It's not just the polar bears, it's our kids, because we know they got asthma issues.
The State Department of Health recently identified 16 communities across the state, including Spokane and Spokane Valley, where people suffer higher asthma rates and shorter lifespans due to air quality. Inslee says the state's new Climate Commitment Act will protect families from pollution. It sets a limit on overall carbon emissions in the state. Funds generated will be used to build filtration systems for schools and charging stations for electric vehicles, among other things.
We've got something that's really working, which is the Climate Commitment Act. And it's not some kind of esoteric thing. It's right here in Spokane County, and you all are using it.
And all of us are paying for it. The cap and trade program increased prices at the pump since the state's largest polluters have to pay to offset their emissions. Washington now has the third highest gas prices in the nation.
We want to thank the people of Washington who are financing this work.
Today, I asked the governor if he thinks families struggling to put food on the table should have to continue paying higher prices for gas.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, families in Washington state are against pollution. They are against smoke coming into their neighborhoods where they can't go out, their kids can't go out and play. They're against early death caused by pollution. and they don't want to remove our protection against pollution. All of these benefits we don't want to see go away. So you bet this law is working. It's working in Spokane County. It's saving lives. It's giving our kids cleaner air. We want to keep it.
What else would be worthy of all this attention besides food?
Some good, hearty, wholesome food.
Food from Chef Hannah Freitham at Mary Hill Winery.
Super exciting and very nerve-wracking.
This is Mary Hill's first time in front of the Restaurant Week camera. Also taking center stage, Les Top Bistro.
I brought a beet salad and a beef tartare.
And if you like that, you might like Shelby's. Same owner, but totally different food.
Shelby's has their 350 burger, which is just their standard smash burger. Their tacos, which are essentially the same thing, just fried in a corn tortilla and then folded.
This is Shelby's first Restaurant Week too.
It's huge just to get the word out outside of their own marketing.
From the new,
So yeah, some people are still learning that we have food.
to the seasoned, you'll be able to see all these photos in the Inlander Restaurant Week edition starting today. In Spokane, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for them in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.